Hi Libra, welcome to Magpie Moonchild. My name is Kaylee. Change of scenery this week. I've decided to do it in the house rather than in my tarot room. I just kind of wanted the sunshine today. Anyway, all the housekeeping as always is down below, like decks that I use, how to book a reading, your aspects of your birth chart, all that jazz is all down below. Let's see what we've got for you for this week coming up. I feel like there's decisions being made. Nine of Wands. Do I go in for this one more time? How many times can I keep doing this before I just admit defeat? Is really what I'm getting. Also feeling defensive and prickly. I don't know if you're trying to make something happen or waiting for something to happen, and the more people ask you, the more frustrating it is, and the more... It's a bit like when at the end of your pregnancy and everyone keeps going, oh, is the baby, is the baby here yet? And you're like, well, if the baby was here, do you think I'd be do you not think I'd have updated everybody that the baby was here? Or, oh, do you think they'll be out soon? I don't know, because I want this baby out of me. It's the more people kind of press questions about it, the more frustrated you feel. And the more frustrated you feel, the more you focus on the fact it's not happening. And the more you focus on the fact it's not happening, the more of not happening happens. It's an energetic blockage. Is it worth going in one last time? Is it worth going in one last time? I kind of feel like there's a situation that has a lot of trauma attached to this. Or this situation has a lot of trauma. Something happened and blasted you out the water, and it kind of... That's what's triggering you. That's where this prickliness comes from. It's an old issue that is making you feel triggered by the questions that are coming up, or the subjects that are coming up around you. It's about looking at getting to the root cause of the trigger, and I don't think it's necessarily what you think it is with this trigger that's happening. I think in some ways you have coping mechanisms to deal with the past trauma, the life-altering event. There are triggers there, but and you know it's from that time, but I don't think... You need to process that in some way. You need to process what happened in some way, because I don't think the part that's triggering you is the part that you think it is. Or it may even be that something from that event, yes, was massive, but the original trigger of why that was so massive actually stems back further. And it's about going within and finding the root causes of why things trigger you the way they do, and learning the lesson of how to, because it kind of feels like you need to shed that. And I kind of feel like this is to do with like relationships. Why does my relationship never work out? Why do I need someone rather than want them? Does that make sense? There's a difference between needing to be with someone and wanting and choosing to be with them. And it kind of feels like you need people. Why am I codependent? Why do I need another person? And it's about getting to the root cause of that. And it could be to do with attachment issues when you were younger, having conditions put on love from a parent, or, I don't know, confidence issues from like being bullied in school, or never liking yourself, or anything. But I kind of feel like you need to go within and find out why it doesn't have to be that you need someone. It kind of feels like there's a codependency issue somewhere deeper down. And it's about getting to the root. And it's a bit like a dandelion in that you can pull it out, but unless you get all of the root, that little weed is just going to keep growing back. And it's about getting to the very root, making sure you've got everything out, whether that's through a talking therapy or hypnosis or whatever kind of treatment that you feel is appropriate, or even just working through yourself. But it's about making sure that the aspect that actually triggers you is pulled out at the root. Like I say, you could have had a really catastrophic abusive relationship, and you can go, oh, every time something happens a red flag comes up that reminds you of that, you're taken back to that relationship, and that becomes overwhelming again. And it kind of feels like, yes, the trigger and the reminder is for that abusive relationship, but there may be some reason that you were in that relationship as to why that felt massive. It kind of feels like you might, like if it was gaslighting, if someone's gaslighting you, it takes you back to that abusive relationship, but where you gaslighted as a child by someone else. It kind of feels like you have to keep unpacking everything backwards until you get to the root cause. And it could literally be like you said something happened as a child and your parent went, oh no, she's being silly, that didn't happen like that. and you're like, it did happen like that. I know that that's what happened. You just trying to save face and make out that you didn't do what you did. That's gaslighting. And it kind of feels like the gaslighting, whilst that was the most traumatic and the most devastating experience of gaslighting that happened in an abusive relationship, it kind of feels like when you actually take it back, you've experienced gaslighting before in your formative relationships. And yeah, until you unpack that happened then as well, I don't think you've really got to the true root of what's triggering this keep coming up. And it's almost like if you have an ex that told you were never good enough, or you weren't responsible, or you had your head in the clouds and you couldn't make decisions and you weren't practical. But then when you kind of, and that because that's the loudest voice that shouted that, you kind of think that that's the root of where that came from. But really, you might have had someone who told you to be quiet, who told you to be small in your formative years. You may have had somebody that said, you're not practical, or you're not sensible. Stop it. You're being silly. You're not being sensible. You need to be sensible with this. And do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, but it stems right back to somebody else that actually said it originally. What a silly question. Do you know what I mean? It could literally be a childhood thing of what a silly question. And until you get to the root of that and unpack that and process that actual root, I kind of feel like that's when you will start to move on with codependency issues and things like that. And you'll realise that maybe there are other relationships that you need to walk away from that are actually toxic as well. Anyway, I hope that is of some use to you this week. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you again soon. Bye for now.